So I'll be starting shortly, because as you know, this semester we have only 1 hour for lecture, so I really can't waste time. Okay, so I hope you will be punctual today. Okay, first class, I will just close one eye, but in future try to come to class on time. Okay, the reason being that we have only got 1 hour for lecture. Okay, so sometimes we need to cover a lot of things, and then I really got to rush through. Okay, so what I will do this semester, since they have changed the contact time to 1 hour, so I'll try to go through the lecture as quickly as possible. So I suggest if we don't have time, you can keep any questions you have for the tutorial class. That's how I propose to do it. Okay, so that way we don't get stuck. Actually 1 hour is quite short, but never mind, that's the system now. So if you have any questions, you can keep it. If we don't have time during this 1 hour, you can bring it during the tutorial class. In fact, I recommend that you do it. You bring any question during the tutorial class. Okay, so this is a big group. I think about 70 students. Lecture is 70. So we're broken up into 3 sections: section 1, section 2, section 3. So which means that for tutorial class we have less people. So you can bring your questions during the tutorial class. So tutorial will start next week. Okay, so since this is the first lecture, there are some things that I have to do. Okay, which should be done only once today, and just bear with me. Okay, so I'll share my screen. So I hope you can see my screen. Okay, just today only. Okay, I won't be repeating this, so pay attention to this. Are some of the important things you need to be aware of. Okay, so if you can't hear me, okay, the fastest way would be for you to unmute and speak up and tell me, sir, I can't hear you, or we can't hear you, you have been cut off. This happened before, because you know, sometimes because of internet issue and so on, you can get cut off suddenly. Okay, so I hope you will remind me if you can't hear me or if I am being cut off. Sometimes I'm not aware of it. Okay, so this briefing will be just for today only. Okay, this is the first class, so you can pay attention. Okay, the first thing is about the group assignment diversity. I'm sure you're fully aware of this, because I think all of you or most of you are in SEM 4. So this is every semester we have been practicing this requirement. What do we mean by group assignment diversity? Now, it is written explicitly in the module information booklet, which has been uploaded on Times. So just in case you didn't have time to go through the MIB, okay, I'm just going through again today. So basically, we give you the freedom to choose your members, group members. However, you must also ensure that the group is diversified enough. There has to be diversity, balanced distribution across nationality, as in Malaysian student, international student, gender, male, female, and ethnicity. This is more in the context of Malaysia, where we have Indian, Chinese, Malay. Okay, so try to have that diversity, okay, meaning that not all girls, not all boys, not all Chinese, not all Malay, like that. That's what we mean by diversity. Now, why do we insist on this? This requirement is to provide you opportunity for you to expand your connections and understand people outside your network. Okay, so please, last semester what happened was, in the very last week when the submission is due, I had students telling me that they couldn't form a group. I think that is not being fair to me. Week 9, week 10, week 11 submission time, then tell me that you don't have a group. So I hope this time you will let me know early if you are facing difficulty. Okay, so like I said, we let you choose, but please keep in mind this diversity requirement. Okay. Now, as you know, you are studying discounting finance. It's a prestigious program, and then you have 2 internships and so on and so forth. We have students getting award from MICPA. MICPA stands for Malaysian Institute of Certified Public Accountants, which is a professional body, and also from ACCA. These are all professional bodies, accounting professional bodies. Now, these are the achievements of the university. I'm sure you're fully aware of it. Okay. So the good news for you is that we are being recognized by 9 professional bodies. So after finishing your degree, you can continue to do your ACCA, MICPA, or whatever you want to do. Okay, employability also very high. Okay, because we have got this internship, 2 internships. Okay, and then we have this special scheme called the ACCA Accelerated Scheme. This is done by the Taylor's College. Okay, you can go onto the website of Taylor's College. Basically, this is for the AF students only. Okay, so this is another thing that you need to be mindful. I hope I don't have to repeat this over the semester. Okay, so attendance is compulsory, and maximum permitted absences in the whole semester is only 5, including lecture and tutorial. Okay. So basically, these are the important things that I need to inform you today, because today is the first class for the semester. I will not be repeating this. Anyhow, my lecture is being recorded. So I hope this is clear. Okay. So let me just see the chat area. Are there any questions regarding the briefing slide just now? If you have, please put it in the chat area, and I'll try and answer you before I move to the lecture proper. Because as I explained just now earlier, this SAM, our lecture is 1 hour only. So I don't want to waste too much time. So if there are any questions regarding the slides just now, please. Okay. Muhammad Kabil. Yes. Oh, hang on. I want to answer the first question. Muhammad Kabil. Can the group members come from different? Yes. Previously, last time, no, because we had 2 people teaching. Okay. Now this time, since all the three are under me, so it should not be a problem. Okay, it should not be a problem. Okay, the reason being that I said I'm teaching all 3, so I can quickly identify. So long as you are registered for this module, okay, if you're in section 1, section 2, section 3, it doesn't matter. I'm more concerned about diversity. That's my concern. Okay, not only my concern, but also our school's concern. Because we receive complaint. I'm just sharing with you from the international students. Have complained that they are not being included in the groups. I hope this will not happen again. Okay, so please remember what I said just now about diversity. So later on, not now, I will create a Google Doc spreadsheet and put it on times. Then you can fill it up with the names of your group members. So it's not urgent now. Okay, there are other things that we have to cover, but later on, just in case I forget, I will not, but in case I forget, tell me to put up the Google Docs spreadsheet on time so that you can fill it up yourself with the names of your group members. I hope you can hear me because I'm trying to be as clear as possible. Okay, so that there should be no argument about this matter. I don't really wish to spend too much time on this. Okay, so be mindful. Try to have a diversity across nationality, meaning Malaysian versus international, across gender, male versus female, and across ethnicity, which is more for Malaysian, where we have the 3 major ethnic. So try to have a mix. Okay, not all Chinese, not all Malay, not all Indian, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so if there are no further questions regarding this matter, so I would like to start my lecture. Okay, so I don't see any more question in the chat area, so I'm guessing that everything is clear. Okay, so 10 minutes have passed. I'm just checking in case there are any more questions regarding what I said about the briefing just now. Are there any questions? Please ask. This is the first class, so I'll try and answer you. Okay, anyway, this is being recorded. Let me just confirm. Yeah, this is being recorded. So if you want to play back, you can play it back later on. Okay. Okay, fine. So now I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so if you can't see, again, I suggest you speak up. Okay, because when I'm presenting, I don't go back and check what's in the chat area. So the fastest way for you to get my attention is to unmute and speak up. For example, you can say things like, "Sir, can't hear you. You have been cut off." It's happened before, huh? Not the first time. It's happened a few times. So there was one occasion where I spoke for 2 hours. Last time lecture was 2 hours. And then at the end only I realized that I was being cut off. Nobody out of the 80 odd people told me. I was quite disappointed. I hope it won't happen again. So if you can't hear me for whatever reason, okay, this week's class slides, I do not put it up because I want you to listen. Okay, I want you to listen. When I'm done with all the slides, then I will put it up on times. Okay, I hope that answers your question. I prefer you to listen to me. Okay, the slides will be put up once I have delivered all of the slides. I can easily just put it up now and say, okay, you read it yourself. I don't think that is being fair. Okay, so once I finish all explaining all the slides, then I will put it up on times. Okay, all right, so now I want to start my lecture. So as I said, I will be leaving this Teams area because I'll be using up the whole of my laptop screen. So I may not be seeing my chat area. So anything, just unmute and speak up. Okay, so this will be the slides for the first 2 lectures, which is this week and next week. Okay, so I will try and do what I need to do this week. Then I will continue next week again. And once I'm done with the lecture 1 and lecture 2, then I will put it up in times. Okay. The reason, as I explained earlier, is because I prefer you to listen to me. Okay. The slides will be put up, so don't worry about it. For now, just pay attention. Okay. Right. So this module, which is ECG, examines what it means to be a professional accountant. Professional accountant, in order to be a professional accountant, you have to be a member of professional body. As I mentioned just now, could be ACCA, could be MICPA, could be chartered accountant or whatever. That is a professional accountant. And then the expectations being a member of a profession places on you. So if you're a member of a profession, how are you expected to behave? How are you expected to behave? This is what we mean by point number 2. Okay, how are you expected to behave as a member of a profession? Which profession am I talking about? Obviously, this class is about accounting, so we're talking about accounting profession. Self-regulatory nature of professions. What do we mean by this? Now, in Malaysia, okay, the regulator is MIA. MIA, Malaysian Institute of Accountants. So if you want to practice as a professional accountant in Malaysia, you have to register with MIA. Otherwise, you are not a professional accountant. Just like if you want to practice as a doctor, you have to register with MMC, Malaysian Medical Council. If you want to practice as a lawyer, you have to register with the Bar Council. So every profession have their own regulatory body. So what for us as accountants, our regulator is MIA, which stands for Malaysian Institute of Accountants. Okay, the next point that we need to be looking at is the role of the accounting profession as a social force that affects changes in organizations, people, and societies. Now, we are not living in the desert. or in the jungle or in the cave. We are in society. So whatever we do, whatever we say, however we behave, like it or not, there will be an effect on people, society, organizations. So that is why this module talks about ethics, how to behave in the ethical way. And the last aspect is the challenges in the profession that have damaged its credibility. There have been many challenges of late. Okay, I think if you're somebody who reads the business press, Age, okay, this Age, there's a famous one is Age, there's Vibes, there is Star Business section. So if you follow all these news regularly, you will see that in Malaysia of late we have had many scandals. Okay, many scandals. Okay, the most well known is the 1MDB scandal. Okay, so as a result of these scandals, accountants have been implicated. Okay, because they sign off on the audit report. So when you sign off on the audit report, and then remember you are giving like a certificate to say that everything is fine, everything is okay. But if it is not okay, that's when it'll come back to us. The blowback will come back to us. This is what we mean by damage our credibility. Damage the credibility means the public, the lay public, will start asking themselves, can we trust these people? Can we trust them? Okay, they sign the audit report, but what actually happened is something else. Okay, so this can become an issue. Not only can become an issue, has become an issue. Okay, so these are some of the things we need to think about. This is a subject where you have to do a lot of thinking. Okay, so I want you to think about all these things, and then I will, if we don't have time today, since our class is only 1 hour, so I will expect you to participate in the tutorial class when we are a smaller group. Now this lecture, if I'm not mistaken, is about close to 70 people, so it may not be possible to do that. Okay, but what I said, keep in mind, these are some of the things we need to discuss. So anything that you want to ask me, you can bring it up in the tutorial class. Okay, after finishing this module is ethics and corporate governance. So there are two aspects to this module. The first part is ethics, the second part is corporate governance. So you should be able to describe the nature and attributes of a profession, namely our profession is accounting profession. Explain the core regulatory processes of the accounting profession. Differentiate the roles, relationship, activities of accountants. Okay, evaluate the challenges faced by accountants in the global context. This is a very current issue. A very current issue. Because now we're talking about globalization. The world is there. They say the world is like a village. So we are not in isolation. So what happens in Malaysia will have repercussions outside the country as well. Like for example, the 1MDB scandal, it went all over the world. Okay, it became a major scandal. And then we need to look at the importance of soft and technical skills required of accountants. So there are two aspects. Okay, not just the technical skills which we will acquire in the classroom by coming for lecture, by coming for tutorial, by going for internship, practical experience. Okay, this is all technical, but also the soft skills, equally important. Okay, especially nowadays. When you're going for interview, for example, for a job, it's not just about your paper qualification, it's also about your soft skills. Okay, very important. Sometimes it's too much stress on the technical side. Oh, I want to get a CG of 3.9. I want to get a CG of I want to get first class, second upper. It's true, but it's not solely based on that. Okay, so basically this is an area that overlooked. Okay, these are equally important. What I'm trying to say is both are equally important. Okay. So now today we are going to look at part A. Part A is about accountants as members of a profession. We always hear people say, oh, I'm a professional. Sometimes they don't even know the meaning of the word professional. So what do we mean when we say we are professional? Easy. That is an easy word to use. Oh, professional. What do we mean? Okay, another thing that we need to be mindful of in this module, which we will come across quite frequently, is this question here: public interest or self-interest. Can you see the question mark at the end? Basically, we are asking ourselves, which is more important, public interest or self-interest? Okay, so efficient market economies, which including Malaysia as well, depend on disclosure of accurate financial information. So that is in red. Okay, disclosure of accurate financial information. The public is depending on us to provide accurate financial information. Why? Because people want to have access to accurate information for decision making. For decision making. So this is our job as an accountant, to make sure that when we disclose the information to the public by way of the annual report, it must be accurate. And then this is where we have the conflict. This is where we will have the conflict. The accountant needs to distinguish between information to be disclosed in the public interest and any self-interest. This is what we call the ethical dilemma, ethical conflict. We are torn. We are torn. Do we want to look at public interest, or do we want to focus on self-interest? Okay, probably now you may not get the full picture, but if we'll do some case study, then you will see why we have to be very careful about this. Okay, so be very clear. There's always this conflict: public interest or self-interest. So I think the next point, it makes it very clear. The accounting profession will only retain its integrity and authority by serving the wider public interest. So this point here answers the question above. Is it going to be public interest or self-interest? So the answer is, as a profession, we will only retain our integrity and authority by serving the wider public interest. So in this very first class, I want to make that very clear to you. There should be no ambiguity, there should be no doubt. Which is our priority? Which is our priority? So whenever there is a clash between these two, okay, always look at the public interest. Okay, how can we serve public interest? It's easy to say, right? But we need some specific guideline. We need some specific guideline. So professional accountants can serve public interest by providing objective information which is not biased. Objective means not biased. Accurate. Okay, accurate. Unbiased. Expert, appropriate. Financial and accounting related advice. So these are some of the things we need to keep in mind. It must be objective, it must be accurate, it must be unbiased, it must be expert, it must be appropriate. People will not come to us for legal advice. We are not lawyers. People will not come to us for medical advice. We are not doctors. People will come to us for accounting and financial related advice, because we are accountant. So our job is to make sure that we provide information which is accurate. Otherwise, we will lose our integrity and authority. People will say, "Oh, don't waste time lah going seeing these accountants." Okay, they are providing information which is unreliable, which is not accurate, which is subjective, blah blah blah. Okay, so I hope with this slide I have answered the question above. Is it public interest or self-interest which takes precedence? So be very clear. It is always the public interest which comes first. Okay. So there should be no what you call doubt in your mind after today. Whenever there is a clash between these two, always public interest comes first as far as our profession is concerned. Okay. So this is what they call a responsible decision making. We have three circles here. Like we call this as a concentric circle, three concentric circles. So ideal decision will be made here, where these three circles intersect here in the middle here. Governance, accountability, ethics. This is the framework which we can rely on to make good decisions or responsible decisions. Okay. So here we have governance, then we have accountability, then we have ethics. Okay, so decision making must be within this framework. In order to make the responsible decision, we must make decisions within this framework. So balanced decisions are made at the center, this section, this part here, okay, where these three circles intersect. Governance, corporate governance, accountability, ethics. So we need to be mindful of these three aspects: governance, accountability, ethics. So where they intersect, this is where we will make responsible decisions. So corporations must remain vigilant, at all time. Okay, we must be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. That's what we mean by vigilant. Be on the lookout. Okay, this is another concept that I want to explain to you today. Okay, this is called enlightened self-interest. Earlier this slide we had this question: is it going to be public interest or self-interest? Because these are two extremes. Public interest means we put the public interest all the time. Self-interest means we put our own interest all the time. Okay, these are two extremes. Public interest is we just look at public interest only. We don't look at our own interest. The other extreme is self-interest, where every time we want to make a decision, we ask ourselves, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? I use the acronym WIIFM. WIIFM. What's in it for me? That is self-interest. Okay, so in order to remember, I use this acronym WIIFM. What's in it for me? Okay. Now it doesn't have to be that way. So we have what is called enlightened self-interest. Or we can call it as a win-win situation. Win-win situation. So we should try to strike a balance between the two extremes just now. Sometimes they call it as prosper thy neighbor. So if you, for example, living in a neighborhood, housing estate, where you are the only rich person, wealthy person, everybody around there is a squatter, I don't think you can sleep peacefully at night. It lead to a lot of a social crime and so on and so forth. So that's why they come out with this concept of prosper thy neighbor. Enlightened self-interest. Actually, we are taking care of ourselves. But we cannot just focus on ourselves all the time. Sometimes we have to think about the neighbor. Sometimes we have to think about the stakeholder as well. So win-win. This is what we call a win-win scenario. Win-win scenario or enlightened self-interest. So what do we mean by this term, enlightened self-interest? We can commit to public interest and at the same time possess a degree of self-interest. So this is a win-win situation. Not just looking at public interest only, or not just looking at self-interest only. We go for the middle path, what is called as enlightened self-interest. So we try to strike a balance, not just looking one side only. Okay, win-win. The client win, I win. I'm the service provider. I make sure that I get my fees, I'm paid my fee. My client, I give the best service. I don't shortchange him. I don't shortchange my client. I'm practicing accountant. I don't shortchange my client. He asked me to do his tax return. I do it to the best of my ability. Make sure he gets all the benefit that he's supposed to get. And then at the same time, we bargain about the fee. Okay, this is how much I charge for my service. This is how much I will charge. If you agree, then I proceed. So I get my fee, the client gets my service. So it's a win-win for both sides. So this is called enlightened self-interest. Okay. Now the other aspect is what is called as accounting, entrepreneurialism, and professionalism. Okay. So accountants, we also need to make a living. We cannot be giving free service all the time. Okay, we cannot just say, oh, I'll give my service for free. How am I going to pay my bills? Pay my rent, pay my electricity, pay my overheads, pay my staff, and so on and so forth. Okay, so sometimes there is a conflict here. We want to be professional. At the same time, we also have to keep in mind, I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur meaning what? I'm running my own practice. I'm practicing as an accountant, professional accountant. I'm providing a service. I need to be paid. I need to be paid for my service. Okay. So sometimes there's a clash between these two, entrepreneurialism and professionalism. So these 4 E's are important: education, which you are getting here in Taylor's, ethics, expertise, which comes with time and experience, entrepreneurship. Now, overemphasizing entrepreneurship may lead to deprofessionalization of accounting, meaning that if I just want to chasing for more and more client, I just do whatever they ask me to do because I don't want to lose the client. This is what can happen. If you overemphasize, okay, meaning I start to behave like a businessman, not like a professional. Then this thing can happen. Okay, we will be less professional. We will turn a blind eye. Okay, this is called deprofessionalization of accounting. Entrepreneurship means that accountants place more importance on increasing their personal wealth and influence rather than the public service. So like I said just now, there's a clash here. We want to be professional. We want to do the best for the client. At the same time, we also have to think about our own livelihood. Okay, I have a practice. I have my overheads. I have staff working for me. I have to pay their salary and overhead and so on and so forth. So this is where sometimes the last point here. Accountants are often in a position of power that can create an ethics versus profits dilemma. Ethics versus profit. This is a dilemma. Do I just forget about ethics, go all out for the profit, close one eye, do what the client asks me to do, even though I know that it is not right? From the accounting perspective, it is against my accounting standards, it's against the auditing standards, it's against the tax law. but because I just want to keep this client no matter what. Because I worry that if I don't follow what he tells me to do, he will go to another accountant or another auditor, I will lose a client. All these things, this is what we call the dilemma. Dilemma. Ethics versus profits dilemma. Okay, this is a real thing. It happens in the real world. Next time when you're working, you will know what I'm talking about. So now, what is a profession? We always hear this term profession. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of this term. People like say, oh, I'm a professional. So this is something that requires a long period of training and a formal qualification. So now you are doing your studies. So let's say you don't have any issue, you complete in 6 sem. That's about 3 years. Are you a professional accountant? Not yet. Not yet. You still have to do your professional exam. That might take another 2 to 3 years, depending on how quickly you complete. So this is what we mean by long training. Formal qualification. Is it an ACCA? Is it a CPA, Australia, whatever? So you need to have both, okay? And then members of profession are expected to behave ethically and in the best interest of society. That's what we mean by expected. Public expect you. So what are the key attributes of a professional board? Professional. Any professional. Okay, but anyway, I'm not concerned about architect, lawyer, engineer, and so on. Since our module is about ECG for accountants. Okay, the first attribute. Systematic body of knowledge and theory. Do we have it? Yes. By the time you finish your degree, you would have done accounting, financial reporting, taxation, auditing, ECG, so many subjects. Okay. Extensive education process for its members. Before you can qualify, we are going to spend about, as I said just now, 3 years for the degree, maybe another 2 to 3 years for the professional qualification. Ideal of service to the community. Must remember, we are providing a service to the community. What type of service? Accounting service, financial reporting service, tax service, consulting service, and so on. High degree of autonomy and independence. As professional, we have a high degree of autonomy and independence. We only answer to our professional body. We only answer to our professional body, which in the case of Malaysia is MIA. MIA, Malaysian Institute of Accountant. Okay, if you're a member of MIA, you are bound by the Code of Ethics as a member. Otherwise, MIA can take action against you. So once you become a member of a professional body, they will give you the Code of Ethics, which tells you how you should behave. A distinctive ethos or culture. As accountants, we have our own ethos or culture, which has been built up over accounting profession has been around now nearly for more than 100 years. Started off in, if I'm not mistaken, in a professional body. Started the first professional body, I think, in Scotland. Okay, Scotland. So we've been around for more than 100 years. So we have our own distinctive ethos or culture, and we also need to apply professional judgment. That is what distinguishes a professional from a technician. Technician, they just give you the manual, guidebook, you just follow step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, blah, 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 follow. But here as professionals, there are some situations which require us to apply professional judgment. Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do this? Do I do that? This is called professional judgment. So for this, we have our guides, okay, in the terms of accounting standards, auditing standards, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, we still have to use our discretion as professional, okay? Because we are going to advise client. Client comes to you and says, okay, I got this problem. Can you advise me how to solve this problem? Okay, I have this problem with the Inland Revenue Board. They're chasing me. Okay, they're asking me to pay. They say that I have to pay so much of tax. Can you advise me what I should do? And existence of a governing body. So as I've just explained, okay, I hope you are paying attention. Who is the governing body for us in Malaysia? There's only one. It is MIA, Malaysian Institute of Accountant. Okay. As far as accounting profession in Malaysia is concerned, there is only one governing body, and it is the name is MIA. Please be clear, Malaysian Institute of Accountants. So if you want to practice in Malaysia, you have to register with MIA. That's the first step. If you want to practice, meaning you want to work for someone, okay? But if you later on, after a few years, you say, okay, now I want to work for myself, then you need to apply for practicing license. Again, you have to go to MIA. Okay, so whatever it is, this MIA is the governing body. So what is a professional? I've already explained just now. Training, a lot of training, high level of competence and skills in a particular area. In our case, accounting, finance, taxation, and so on. Behaves in an ethical, appropriate manner. Very important. Very, very important. Again, we just spoke just now. There's going to be a clash between self-interest, public interest. So what do I do? Luckily, I've just given you some advice just now. We call it as enlightened self-interest. You don't go for the one extreme. You don't go for the other extreme. We try to take the middle path. Enlightened self-interest, meaning it's a win-win. A win-win scenario. I, as a professional, get my fees, get my whatever is supposed to pay to me. Client gets the benefit of my advice. So it's a win-win. Okay, it's a win-win situation. So it is called as enlightened self-interest. Enlightened self-interest. We are taking care of our interests, but at the same time, we don't want to be unethical. We don't want to be unethical. So don't go to one extreme. If you go to public interest totally, then how are we going to earn a living? We can't be doing everything for free. On the other extreme, self-interest, we put our interest first every time. The client said, do this, do. Or you want this, okay, I do for you. So long as you pay me, I'm fine. That's not the way to behave as a professional. We have to be competent, skilled, use our skill, our judgment. Okay, this is why we are called a professional. Okay, there are two views. One is the market control view, traditional view. Now, traditional view sees the accounting profession as focused on serving society. This is the ideal view. Ideal view. May not be practical. Like I said, at the end of the day, we also need to earn a living. We can serve society, but at the same time, we also need to earn a living. That's the traditional view. Ideal view. Okay, sometimes not very practical. Okay, not very practical. But you need to be mindful that there is such a thing called traditional view. So what's the traditional view? It says that we exist to serve society. The other view is the market control view. Market control view says that professional accountants are less concerned with public interest than with their own careers. Meaning that we are not so much concerned with the public interest, we are more focused on our own career. So how do we do this? Like in the case of accounting profession, we have created a monopoly. Only certain people who are members of the profession can work in this area. Like for example, in Malaysia, I have said it just now and I'm saying it one more time. In order to be an accountant, you have to register with MIA. Otherwise, you're not an accountant. Okay, remember that. In this country, if you want to practice as an accountant, you have to register with MIA, meaning MIA has the monopoly. MIA has the monopoly to decide who can practice as an accountant in Malaysia. If you fulfill all the requirements as in qualification, as in training, as in experience, they admit you as a member. Then you are qualified to practice. You are qualified to give your advice. Otherwise, no. This is what we mean by monopoly. Monopoly meaning you must be a member of MIA. So MIA is our regulator who decide who can provide accounting service, tax service, financial advice, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is what we mean by the market control view. Now, attributes of accounting profession, we've just spoken about it. We have a body of theory and knowledge. We have extensive education. We have ideal of service to community, high degree of autonomy and independence. We have a code of ethics. We have a distinctive ethos or culture. We apply professional judgment. We have a governing body, MIA. These are the attributes of the accounting profession. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if in case you ask to discuss what are the attributes of the accounting profession, you need to talk about each of these 8 points. Okay, these are 8 points, attributes of the accounting profession. So don't worry, because as I explained just now, due to the very short time for the lecture, so I probably have to rush through. So if there's anything that is not clear, this is why we have a tutorial class. I hope you will actively participate in the tutorial class, because given that we only have an hour, I can't really do much. So sometimes I really have to rush through. But I will hope that you will participate in the tutorial by asking questions. Any doubt, please bring it up in the tutorial class. Okay. Now, we have our own regulatory process. We have what is called the Accounting Professional Ethical Standards Board. This is the independent body that sets professional standards for accountants. In Malaysia, we have the Malaysian Accounting Standards Board. Then we have a high degree of autonomy. Okay, high degree of autonomy, meaning that in Malaysia, MIA. Okay, no doubt these slides are prepared by CPA Australia, but in Malaysia, we have our own regulator, MIA. MIA is the one who decides who can be an accountant, who qualifies to be an accountant, who qualifies to be our member. You don't meet the requirement, sorry, you cannot be a member of MIA. Okay, so all these bodies mentioned here, like the Australian Accounting Standards Board, we have the Malaysian Accounting Standards Board, Australian Auditing Assurance Board. We also have all these bodies in Malaysia. It's just that instead of Australian, we have Malaysian, and we also have the Financial Reporting Council. We have all these bodies in Malaysia. Okay, so that's why I have the question mark up there. Okay, so just to answer the question mark up there, we have all these professional bodies in Malaysia. And then the only difference is the last point down there. As of now, as of 2021, in Malaysia, the auditing standards, our Malaysian auditing standards, do not have the force of law, unlike in Australia. Okay, they don't have the force of law. When we say force of law, that means if you fail to comply, then it becomes illegal. In Malaysia, it's not that. Okay, it's more like persuasive. Okay, it's more like persuasive. It's not does not have the force of law. We have not gone to that extent in Malaysia. So this last point, okay, it does not apply in Malaysia. It applies in Australia. Okay. Then we have a quality assurance process. Okay, this is how we ensure that we keep our quality. We have accounting standards. We have practice review, meaning that between firms or within firms, you have one partner or one senior reviewing the work of a junior, okay, to make sure that everything is according to standard. Then we have accounting firm regulation. This is done by our regulator, MIA. And then we have our own standards in Malaysia. Okay, so if you're a member of MIA, they will give you the handbook whereby they state what are the requirements in Malaysia, things like leadership responsibility, ethical responsibility, how to accept the client, continue with the client, what are the human resources requirement, engagement, performance monitoring. So all of these will be covered. Okay, these are all part and parcel of the quality assurance. We want to make sure that when we do work, provide service, it is of a certain quality. Okay, and last but not least, discipline. So members who are errant members who don't follow, they will face disciplinary action. Okay, no profession is free of unscrupulous members. We all have lawyers, doctors, accountants. We also have unscrupulous members who don't follow the regulations. Okay, in that case, we have the investigation and disciplinary procedures. Okay, so with that, I've come to the end of this lecture. Okay, So as I've explained earlier, I will put up these slides once I'm done with the second part of the lecture next week. Okay, so for now, I rather you listen to me. So before I share the what you call the attendance thing, okay, I'm going to this thing. Are there any questions, please? Are there any questions, please ask. Please put your question in the chat area. As I said, we're a bit of a rush because we have only 1 hour. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to get the what you call the password or the code from the CMS. Okay, so bear with me. I've shared it in the chat area. In the meantime, I'm still looking at the chat area. Are there any questions based on what we covered in the lecture just now? We still have 10 minutes. You can ask me. Like I said, don't worry. You can still ask me during the tutorial class. Okay, we'll be starting tutorial from next week. I really hope you will participate in the tutorial class because this semester, as I've said already, I really have to rush through the lectures again because only 1 hour. So I hope for full participation during tutorial class. So whatever we discussed just now, if you are not very clear or not sure, you can bring it up in the tutorial class and I'll try to make it clearer for you. So I've already shared the for the camps, the code for the camps. So please be attendant. Okay, so go through the MIB, which I've already uploaded on times. Okay, the details are in MIB. And then if you've got any questions regarding it, you want more detail, please bring it up in the tutorial class because I really can't be answering too many questions during lecture. I'm myself rushing through. Okay, so you should actually bring up whatever questions you have in the tutorial class. You probably have more time to answer them. So this semester, again, I repeat what I said just now. Lecture is 1 hour, tutorial is 1 hour. So basically, lecture I'll do the talking. Most of the talking will be done by me. So questions we will do and answer questions in the tutorial class, which will start from next week. Okay. So that's how I will be going about this semester. So are there any questions? Please shoot your question now. I am giving you the opportunity to ask question, please. It's better you ask now rather than end of semester and then asking me end of semester. Okay, like last semester already week 9 or week 10 submission, then telling me, oh, I couldn't find a group member. So don't worry about this group thing. Okay, I will put up as I said just now, I will put up the Google Docs spreadsheet on times. Okay, at that time when you finalize your groups, then you can fill in that Google Docs spreadsheet. Okay. So for now, you just focus on the lecture. So when the time is ready for the Google Docs spreadsheet, I will share it on times. I rather you listen. Okay, I prefer you to listen. If you're still not clear, you've got to ask during tutorial class. Okay, because as I said just now, we have only 1 hour lecture and 1 hour tutorial. Okay, because now we have changed to the student-centered learning. Student-centered learning means that you're supposed to do the reading. Okay, I see I've only got 5 minutes left. Okay, I got a message saying got 5 minutes left. Okay, so I don't see any questions. So I just remind you, please fill up your attendance because attendance is taken by CAMS. I cannot do it for you. And as I mentioned just now during the briefing, just now, the first part of the lecture about the attendance requirement and all that, please be mindful, okay, about the attendance. So if you're not attending, make sure you got the MC and all that kind of stuff, okay. Okay, Nurul Shazana, got any question? Nurul Shazana? Nurul Shazana, do you have any questions? Can you hear me? Are you still here or gone already? Okay, any question, Nurul? You have no question. Okay, good, that's good. How about Muhammad Kabil? Any question, Muhammad Kabil? Muhammad Kabil Daniel, any questions? No, okay, fine. Nicholas? Nicholas Zan. Oh, I got your name right. No question, Nicholas? Okay, fine. All right. Yes, Nicholas, any question? Oh, no question. Okay, fine. I'm just checking your names, all right? Noor Atira. Noor Atira? Are you okay so far? Any question? I'm not saying you cannot ask after this, okay? But we have only got 1 hour. I'm rushing through, okay? So whatever question you have, okay, bring it for the tutorial class, okay? Please, because this semester is going to be a very rush kind of thing. 1 hour lecture, 1 hour tutorial. So make the maximum use of the time that we have, okay? So I hope you've done the attendance and go and check. Okay, all right. So if there are no questions, then I think we can end shortly. Okay, so I'm going to be another 2-3 minutes more. Okay, like I said, unfortunately, I don't feel happy with this rushing through like this, but that's the way it works this time. So maximum you have to do reading and bring your question to the tutorial class. Okay, I want to see more participation this time. All right. So if there are no further question, then I will be ending shortly.